Music. Music can put you in the zone. Ever wondered why athletes don't use headphones and music during the races? Well, apparently it's because there is a competitive edge that music gives to people. Now you might wonder, why the hell am I saying this instead of playing games as my usual? It's because under this hat, there's a very curious brain. So this year, in January, I started going to the gym because I was getting as fat as a penguin. I stopped smoking last year and I started eating more and more. I'm already a very heavy eater. But it went just beyond. So I was 92, 93 kilos. I'm 5'7" or 5'8", I don't know, something like that. Not tall enough for me to justify the 93 kilos, nor muscular enough. And so I had to go to the gym. But you see, I love to do workouts that are usually full body. I don't like to sit and you know, just get some weight lifted left and right, which I think is fine for most people, but not for me. And so for me, cardio is a big thing. I like to run usually. I hate to run, but I like that I hate to run because there's just something challenging about it. However, without me digressing, I was just thinking the other day, I went for a regular treadmill workout. What I was supposed to train just 1 or 2K, and I just meant to do a minute of half sprints and then 2 minutes of walking just to rest the legs because I have shin splints, my legs are hurting, and obviously my legs need to rest. So I decided just to do a workout, a light workout routine. Now, why am I saying all of this? Is because you see, usually you train with your headphones, and I'm having my headphones on. I'm just, you know, trying to get in a little bit of regular music, and I'm trying to get just a bit of movement in my body. And all of a sudden, I get, by mistake, I got on my training playlist, my heavy training playlist, and all of a sudden some heavy music, like proper, some sort of interstellar kind of crescendo music that pumps your blood, that, you know, your inside red cells transform into tiny Vikings with axes and shields and oh, you know. All of a sudden you're part of the 300 or some shit. And I went on the wrong playlist, and all of a sudden this type of music kicks in, and you know, my vibe just changes all of a sudden. Now I'm following the rhythm, I'm locked in, I'm in the zone, I'm following the rhythm, and I went from just having to do like 1K of light 20 minutes workout just to check the pace and try to keep a certain pace and try to move the muscles of the legs a little bit without putting too much pressure on the shins. Instead, it just transformed into a challenge of survival or die. I was running like there was a T-Rex behind me, like that dire wolf was really coming back to life, and somehow he's running after me, and I had, like in an old 90s Van Damme movie, I had a stake, you know, roped to my thigh, and I had to run for my life because all of a sudden I was running a pace like I was a Kenyan dude. And I couldn't stop. And I remember at some point between the two, between the two tracks, because obviously there's that little 2 seconds break between the two tracks, I said to myself, like, my brain just sent a signal to me, like, beep, what the hell are you doing, man? You were supposed to train light today. I don't know. I just, as soon as the next fire track kick in, I'm just back in the zone, like immediately, boom, my brain switches on the Spartan mode, and I just keep on running. I think my pace was like 7 minutes a mile, which I have, guys. I know some of you might be sitting there flexing, oh, 7 minutes a mile is not actually too. For someone that smoked his entire life and hasn't done anything athletic except eating on the couch in the last 15 years, that is a very fast pace, okay? I don't even know how the hell I was able to keep it for even like minutes. But yeah, I was basically sweating and trying to kill myself on a treadmill just because of music. But you see, after I had done the workout and everybody was looking at me like, what the hell, man, you were supposed to train light today? What just happened? You went from that to full-on hardcore break my shins. I can't, it's just music. Anyways, I'm giving you context here because every time I hear like some really intense music with crescendos and motivational stuff, my brain just for some reason switches to something else, to something more primal, more, I don't know, I get that axe in the shield and I need to charge and slaughter and conquer, you know, I don't know why. And so I'm very curious as to why this happens. Now I know this is very late at night, at least for me. I just finished a 13-hour shift and I'm going back to a 13-hour shift tomorrow. But you're gonna admit it, man, it's really interesting. So I just want to read you a quick article and we go through it. For anybody that might be in any capacity interested into this, like I am, we're just gonna have a quick read through the article. No games today, because I'm also very tired. But I'm also not very patient, so I don't want to lose the idea. So I just want to talk about it today because I was thinking on the train, like, what the hell? And so let's go through it. The article from the Health Sciences Academy, that says, in 2007, the USA and Track Field, the national governing body for distance racing, banned the use of headphones and portable audio players at its official races, creating the rule to ensure safety and to prevent runners from having competitive edges. So think about it. Competitive edges. We're not using PEDs, for example, right? We're not using any sort of enhancing drugs or anything. It's just music. Yet it's considered a competitive edge. Isn't that crazy? Many runners do protest the rules apparently, but it's still in effect today. Basically, this has never changed. So here's what they say. Is music a performance-enhancing drug? Is it a PED? The world-leading researcher on music for performance, Kostas Karagiorgis, I think it's Greek, Kostas Karagiorgis, I hope I'm not butchering the name too much, who has authored over 100 studies, says that one can think of music as a type of legal performance-enhancing drug. So in practice, music does enhance athletic performances, and it can be a very compelling intervention to improve how one relates to the performance and the end result. So they have a couple of reasons here. So let's go through them real quickly. Now, number one, it says there's one of the things that happens is dissociation through music that diverts the mind. Basically, what happens is you distract yourself through music, so you don't think about the heavy breathing, the fact that it's hard. You get distracted from those thoughts. And it doesn't have to be music. In this regard, it could be, for example, just watching a YouTube video, watching a movie. And I've seen plenty of people in the gym while doing cardio in a repetitive way, just watching something that distracts the mind and they just keep going. But with music though, you tend to follow a rhythm and go for like very, very heavy workouts. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. So dissociation refers to diverting the mind from sensation of fatigue that creep up and in during performance. Now, I don't know exactly why this sentence is made like this. that creep up and in during performance. Basically is where you feel fatigue during the performance and you'll be like, I want to stop, I can't go anymore, just one more step and I'm dead. Music distracts you from that. So the research apparently has repeatedly shown, so there's multiple researches and multiple results apparently. I think another day we're gonna go through some heavy stuff. Apparently, music can improve performance by drawing one's attention away from feeling of fatigue and pain when engaged in endurance activities like running, cycling, or swimming. Very, very repetitive movements of medium to high intensity, right? These kinds of workouts where a certain rhythm can be very heavy on the body, so you just distract yourself from that weight. Apparently, sports scientists at Brunel University in the UK, a world-leading research hub on music athleticism, demonstrate that music can reduce your rate of perceived effort by 12% and improve your performance by 15%. Anyway, if you can perceive less effort, you can go on for longer. So that's kind of how it works. So basically, what researchers and scientists are saying here is that music increases efficiency of an activity and it postpones the fatigue. And this is especially true if there's a synchrony between the rhythm of the music and the movement. So one of the things that happens to me when I run, I always tend to follow the running steps with the beat of the music. And so I had to come up with a playlist eventually that I always get similar beat patterns, like a 4/4 or a 2/4 or whatever. In this way, I don't have to switch too much between patterns, because I found myself, for example, maybe having a drum and bass track and just like run super fast, and then the next one is a jazz song and I have to run smoothly and slower, and all of a sudden I'm just doing these giant deer jumping steps and I just can't keep up with that, right? So it just messes up with my brain because of that while running. So obviously when you have a good rhythm, so I use the rhythm of my running with the rhythm of the music, that is when I feel mostly connected to the music and I feel like pushing more and more, especially if the music is slightly on the faster beat, so I have to push myself and run a bit faster, right? In terms of muscle strength, music that is perceived to be motivating can lead to bursts of intensity. This increases your work capacity and can bring about ultra high levels of explosive power, strength and productivity. Think of this influence on sprints, high jumps, weightlifting, plyometrics, and even high-intensity interval training, HIIT. So you see, this is like PED, just natural PED. I don't understand why. It's kind of weird, but it always happens to me. If I have a motivating track, I just lose it completely. I'm gonna go all out. I just forget that I'm doing a tiny section of a portion of training where I'm just paying attention to the movement, a certain movement, or I do a certain exercise. No, everything goes out the window if a good track comes along. You can't just control yourself and you have to dash. You like the Super Saiyan that is reaching an extra level to get revenge on Krillin that got killed. Also, it's crazy, you know what I mean. Now, another good reason they said is that music promotes flow state for internal motivation. Now, this is, some people refer to this as being in the zone, as when you get that very high level of intensity training, that in a very linear progression, where you can keep extreme and heightened focus, and you can really push yourself. and almost like you're on autopilot or something like that. It never really happened to me to feel like in the zone, but something's very in a trance-like situation. Yes, sometimes I feel like if the music gets really intense, like a very intense crescendo, it just transports me into a trance-like state where everything around me just disappears and I'm just focused on following that beat and going with it, whatever it's taking me. It feels like a trance sort of situation. It's pretty interesting. So that's kind of considered being in the zone. So this is a flow of mind that music can induce very easily. Without music, I would imagine it's very difficult to get into this sort of mental flow. It would be very difficult. But with music, it becomes so easy to get yourself in these flow states, which are interesting. Now, this is an interesting one because this is the one that has the most effect on me. I can observe this effect. Is the synchronized music movements that can shift your level of workout. So basically, repetitive exercise is linked to so synchronizing your music with the repetitive exercising, like running or swimming or cycling, is linked to increased levels of work output. And I remember this was a very early stages, like 2 months ago. I was going to the gym, I was doing cycling, and I forgot my headphones home. Obviously the gym has music, but it's not the same, right? So I couldn't bring myself to run the same distance. I do about 15k in 20 minutes. I was able to do only 10 kilometers in 20 minutes. And I thought, okay, it's because I've done it yesterday as well, so I'm tired. But I think it was because I didn't had a good synchronization with the music. And so I was constantly focusing on my breathing. That was very heavy. So I was underperforming from this, if you can call it underperforming, compared to my usual music enhanced performance, if you will. And what really happens to me is mostly when I run, basically, like I said earlier, when I run to a faster track, I tend to follow and start running faster. But then all of a sudden, if the track after it's a slower track, all of a sudden I need to slow down. So this creates an unbalanced sort of work output. This is why I'm trying to get my running training playlist is made of tracks that have very similar beats, so that I can follow the same rhythm without changing it too much. This is exactly what he's saying here. Have you ever had the experience where listening to a faster tempo moved you along at a faster pace? Conversely, when you apply a slower tempo, may be conducive to a slower or more graceful pace or needs for focus? Yeah, and I kind of use this many times. Even I remember when I used to be a young child, many millennia ago, and I was breakdancing. I remember I was training a top rock, and I was training footwork, and I was training power moves and power freezes. And when I was training, for example, power moves and things that required high level of energy, I was using some crazy level of interstellar type of crescendo, super motivating music to help me find the strength to push through, because it was very tiring. When I was doing stylish footwork or top rock or something that required more creative mind and where you kind of reflect on new steps that you want to create, I was using a different type of music. For example, I could go through R&B, or we were listening to 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Busta Rhymes at the time. It was in the 90s and 2000s, okay? It was a long time ago. But yeah, I was looking at sometimes when I was training for technique, I would even go as far as to listen to classical music. because it would help me to just maintain a certain level of focus without that need for push. And then La Campanella came along and I started pushing, much like any devilish classical piece that starts, it gives you a sense of pace and then everything goes out the window, you know, and it's all full on war. But yeah, apparently there's also the emotional appeal that music has that enriches the enjoyment. And several studies apparently link these positive feelings and memories with music. Now, obviously, emotions are a very strong driver. Okay, so every time you hear a sad song, you get saddened by it and you get a link to sad emotions. A happy song, happy emotions. An empowering song like a ready for war Spartan song and you feel like you want to conquer stuff. We kind of link these emotions with music. So yeah, a very interesting article. I will put a link down in the description if you want to read it. It's very interesting read. It's about 3 minutes read. But it's, if you go to the gym or you do anything, and music is in everything you do, and you always felt like there's some sort of hidden driven effect, it's the music. And there's these 4 reasons. I hope that helped. I had to take my mind off things for a bit. Now I have to go have a shower because I smell like the wrong spring, and I have to go to bed because tomorrow early morning wake up and work another 13-hour shift. But it's gonna be fun. So see you guys in the next one.